If you're thinking about a getaway sometime soon, you might be starting to stress about the impact of a routine change on your dog's separation anxiety, and especially if you've been hard at work doing separation anxiety training. Well, in this episode, I want to talk all about routine changes, how going away, how taking a break from training can affect our dogs, and what you do when you get back into the swing of things. Hello, and welcome to the Be Right Back Separation Anxiety Podcast. Hi, I'm Julie Naismith, dog trainer, author, and full-on separation anxiety geek. I've helped thousands of dogs overcome separation anxiety with my books, my online programs, my trainer certification, and my separation anxiety training app. And this podcast is all about sharing my tips and tricks to help you teach your dog how to be happy at home alone too. Great, so you're looking forward to a weekend away, or maybe you've booked a couple of weeks in the summer and you're excited. Of course you are, but also there's a really nagging feeling of, how's this going to affect my dog? Because if you've got a dog with separation anxiety, going away, especially if you're going away and not taking your dog, or even if you are going away with your dog, it can feel like a really big deal. You might be worried about just the impact on your dog generally. But you also, if you've been training away and training really hard, you're probably also worried about what's it going to be like when I get back. Well, that's why in this episode, I want to take you through some things to think about when you are planning a getaway, or even if it's just taking a couple of weeks off work and working from home or staying at home, but just anything which is kind of different and means that you won't train in the same way that you've been doing previously. Well, first of all, plan ahead. Okay, I know it sounds stupid. Of course, it's obvious. We always need to plan. But when you've got a dog with separation anxiety, you probably don't need me to tell you this. Planning is everything. So who's your dog going to be with? If you're going away and not taking your dog, have you managed to find somebody who, when you look them in the eye and you say, my dog cannot be left, you know that, right? When you say that to them and you look them in the eye, you're 100% certain that they've got it. There are people like that around. There really are. We've had many successful vacations and holidays where we've found people to look after Percy. We've had some unsuccessful ones as well. And so how do I know that he's been cared for in the way that I have asked when we've gone away? Well, because I can contrast it in the times that I know he's been left by people who said they wouldn't leave him. And that only happened a couple of times, and it didn't happen again. I actually used those examples, the times when he did get left. One was by a trainer who was somebody I thought I trusted and who said that I discovered later, said that they wanted to let him bark it out because they thought that that was what Percy needed. And when I came back from that trip, I just knew instantly. I didn't know what had gone on, but I knew something had gone on. So I use that story when I'm talking to house sitters or pet sitters to say, you know what? He's different. If he's been left, he's different. Now, okay, it's easier for me because I do separation anxiety training. So if I say that, they're probably going to believe me. But back then, when Percy was a baby, I wasn't. And I was still saying, I will know if you've left him. So it's really important to have that discussion. Be upfront with people about the fact that he can't be left, that your dog can't be left, and tell them what that entails. And tell them also the impact on your dog and how he'll be when you get back if they do leave him. I come across some horror stories of people who say, I left them with a sitter who said, when I got back, well, I only left him for half an hour here and there. And it's like, what part of don't leave my dog at all did you not get? So plan well ahead. Find somebody you really, really trust. I love, talking of trust, trustedhousesitters.com. That's always worked really well for me. But you will explore your own options too. But the main thing, of course, is that you're not going to find somebody last minute. So do your best to plan ahead because you're going to feel much better about everything when you find that person. Then don't worry. Oh gosh, it's really easy. When somebody tells you not to worry, power of positive thinking, as soon as you say don't worry, then then you're not going to worry, right? If I tell you not to worry, you'll not worry. That's just ridiculous. Of course it won't. Being told not to worry does not stop you worrying. So me telling you not to worry, that's not going to stop you worrying. However, I do want you to go away and enjoy your time away. Being with a dog with separation anxiety all the time, working on their training, it's grueling and it's hard and it's not the most fun thing that we're ever going to do. So if this is a chance for you to not be in that zone, to not be constantly thinking about, am I training? What am I going to do about the dog? Where when we go out tonight, how are we going to, all those things that we think about all the time when we've got a dog with separation anxiety. Well, take this as your chance to step away from that, because stepping away from it will allow you to come back feeling fresher and more energized for the journey ahead. And when I say don't worry, I don't want you to worry about your dog when you're gone. Again, easy for me to say. But if you've done your preparation, if you've got somebody that you can trust, even if being with that person isn't as good as being with you as far as your dog's concerned, that's often good enough. Because if you don't have breaks, you will resent doing the training. You'll resent having a dog with separation anxiety. So having those little breaks is good for you and good for your dog, especially if you plan ahead and get the right person to look after him for you. And another reason why I say try not to worry about, so let me say try not to worry rather than don't worry. Try not to worry about going away is that often people get very stressed about what's he going to be like when I get back? Is a training progress going to just be, are we going to go back to the start? Am I going to lose everything that we've done, all the progress that we've made, all that I've invested in his training? Well, you don't know. And I'll come on to in a minute how we can sort of tell and how we can manage our expectations. But it's that classic thing, isn't it, about don't worry about stuff that you have no control over and you don't know that it's necessarily going to be that way. So you can control who looks after him when you've gone. You can control the training that you do when you get back, but you can't control anything else. You can't control your dog's brain and how they'll respond to you being away. You've done everything you can. You've got somebody in. You've done your due diligence. So go away, have that refreshing break, and then when you come back, here's the time to start thinking about how is he doing now? All right. So don't go away worrying that he's going to be a mess when you get back, because that's just going to take the shine off your break. But when you get back, right, that is the time to start thinking about this. So first of all, when you get back, how does your dog seem? They're probably going to go absolutely bonkers the first time they see you, because that's what dogs with separation anxiety do. I mean, let's face it. A new person can come in the door and my dog Percy will just explode with delight. He just loves seeing people. So he especially loves it when we come back. And he's always been like that. He can be so sound asleep that he doesn't even hear me walking up to him. And then when he wakes up, it's like, oh my goodness, I love you, Mum. Where have you been? Boom, 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 bounce, 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 bounce. And he will never change. And I don't want him to change. I love that about him. But if you know how your dog normally greets you, say you've been at work and your dog's been at daycare or been with a pet sitter, how does your dog normally greet you after an absence, your absence like that, of a length of time? And think about when you come back from your trip, how is your dog now? Is his greeting really amped up, but quite similar and kind of what you're expecting? Or is there something more? Does he seem like another level of amped up? Does he actually seem really stressed out and anxious? Like the relief is just unbelievable. It's not joy. It's not, I missed you, I'm so happy. It's, oh my goodness, thank goodness you are back. I didn't know how I was going to survive. Is it that, or is it just, oh, just love seeing you. I'm so glad you're back, Mum. Because that's going to give you some cues as to, well, how is he doing now and how up for training is he going to be? So does he seem just so relieved, or is he just happy, happy, happy? And then does he seem more clingy? Does he seem more clingy than he was before? Does he seem more clingy than you were expecting? Or maybe less clingy? That would be great, right? But it can happen. He might have fallen in love with the person looking after him and gone, oh, who are you? When you walk in the door. It wouldn't be the first time. But is he less clingy? Or is there no change? So gauge that first day you're back, first 24 hours, I'd say, just hang with your dog like you would normally do and just start to see, did that greeting seem very different? Did he seem relieved? And then in those 24 hours when you're with him, when you're back, more clingy, less clingy, or really no change. Now, if there's no change, if your dog just seems unfazed by the fact that you went away, missed you, yes, delighted to see you, oh, absolutely, but not troubled by you being away, then if there's no change, you can just pick up your training where you left off. I wouldn't start with exactly the same exercise that you finished on. I would probably go back a few steps or so. By steps, I mean, open up your training plan. If you're using my Be Right Back app, if you're a member of Separation Anxiety Heroes, I would go back a few plans, a few exercises, and maybe pick a target duration from 3 days before you left. If you're doing all this on paper or on a spreadsheet, same thing. Just go back a little bit. Pick a target duration that's shorter than where you ended up before you went away. If that doesn't work though, and how will you know? Well, you know your dog well enough by now, and you'll know the signs of stress in your dog. But if you don't, and you're still finding your way through separation anxiety training, we're looking for a dog who maybe will follow us to the door, would be interested in us going to the door, but who isn't showing signs of anxiety, such as whale eyes, ears pinned back, panting, salivating, pacing around, running around, trotting around, freezing at the door rather than standing at the door. So can you see signs of anxiety when you do the training? If so, then that's your cue to actually go further back. And here's what I would say. If you're finding that you can't go back to where you were, or even a few days before, your target duration of a few days before you went away, then do what I call a door is a bore refresher course. And any dog, every dog, anytime we're working on separation anxiety, if in doubt, a door is a bore refresher course is a brilliant idea. It's just getting your dog very, very gently back into the game by saying, remember, when I go out, I come back. Because it could be that 2 weeks ago you went out of the door and you didn't come back, right? We had this agreement that when I go out, I always come back. Now, that might be 8 hours later. He's at home with a pet sitter, but you've gone out for 8 hours, but you come back and he knows that. But 2 weeks ago, you went out and you didn't come back. So he might just need a door is a bore refresher course, because that's going to get that association going of, oh, when you go out, you come back in again. So it gets that association fired up again. And if you come back and you find your dog is clingier than usual, or that greeting was so over the top and your dog was clearly so relieved to see you, not just happy, then for you, I would also say it could be a door is a bore refresher, or go right back with your target duration. Now, nobody likes it, and I totally understand when I say, take your target duration back to a much shorter time, because it makes you want to cry, because you think, oh my goodness, no, it's taken us forever to get to 7 minutes. Don't make me go back to a minute. But the thing you've got to remember is that when your dog can do 7 minutes, that learning is in your dog's brain. But sometimes things like going away, having time away from them, can disrupt that new learning, and they go back to an old association, an old way of thinking. So the 7 minutes is still there, but you have to get your dog back into winning sessions. So every session for a dog should be an easy session. It should be something that your dog can achieve. If 7 minutes is suddenly too difficult, then we have to find a time that your dog is going to ace. Or if it's door is a bore, we go back there. Because that, bizarrely, it seems weird, but that, going back to a short time that your dog can ace, is actually what gets that new learning triggered again, right? Because the new learning is being alone is safe. And you need to remind your dog of that. If he's forgotten when you went away. It seems like he's forgotten. He's just put that memory in a different part of his brain and he's using a different association. So we just dust off the new learning by going back to the first principles of it's okay when I leave, I come back. It's all safe. However, I know it's deflating. You've been away and you're thinking, oh, I wish I hadn't gone away now because just don't feel like we're just back to where we were. No, you're not. Because what you're going to do now is when you've got that shorter time or you're working on Dora Zabor, when you start to get a number of sessions strung together where your dog is acing things, you're not going to go back up to, say, that 7 minutes. Let's keep talking about, imagine you had 7 minutes. You're not going to go back to the 7 minutes in the same way that you first got there. Your steps will be bigger. But first of all, I really need you to get some successes under your belt after you've been away. All right, so have at least 3 sessions where your dog aces it. And then you can start to think about going up in bigger steps. If you're doing Dora Zabor, I'd want 3 sessions where your dog aces it, then go on to a shorter duration than you were on before. Then think about going back up to that previous target duration in bigger steps. If you're in my Separation Anxiety Heroes Club, in your app, that will mean once you've had 3 or 4 aced it sessions, go in and start putting some custom duration. So if the app is telling you to go up by 20 seconds, but you know that you're a long way off the target duration you were previously on before your vacation, you might put in a target duration that takes your time up by, say, a minute. So ignore the custom duration for a little bit. If you're not in my Separation Anxiety Heroes Club, that might mean nothing to you because you're not using my app. But if you're just using a worksheet or maybe my success tracker, then same principles apply. You're just going to think about a bigger step up in target duration than the increments you used to get there in the first place. All right, so do we feel like we've got a plan of action now? I hope so. Do you feel a little bit more comfortable about going away? Not as concerned? Well, a tiny little bit less concerned? Again, I hope so, because it's so important for you to go away and have a break. And the separation anxiety training can wait while you're away. And then when you get back, just follow these principles that I've set out here. And honestly, your dog hasn't forgotten. You're going to help your dog get back in the game. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you listening because I know you've got a lot of options when it comes to podcasts. That's it from me for this week. I'll catch you online soon. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Be Right Back Separation Anxiety podcast. If you want to find out more about how I can help you further, head over to julienaismith.com. Meanwhile, if you enjoyed listening today, I would love it if you would head over to wherever you listen to your podcast and consider rating my show. Thanks so much. Good luck with that training and bye for now.